Hello and welcome to the Wilderness of Creativity. I'm your host, Lucy, and I'm a passionate dance and drama teacher, proud mum of one, and first-time podcaster. I am so pleased to have you here with me as I explore the theme of creativity and hear from creatives and entrepreneurs just like you. Since starting this adventure in April 2024, after an amazing 6-week course with Sarah McDowell from the SEO Mindset, I've met some incredible people and had some really beautiful, deep, meaningful conversations about what creativity really means. Is creativity a luxury or a necessity? Well, you get to decide. Tune in every month and explore how my guests find their focus in a world that never stops buzzing and discover what it really means to take the road less travelled. So, subscribe now, follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and if you love the show, then leave a review. And that's it. Welcome to your next adventure. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine. How are you? I don't know if we've ever spoken. We've had so much correspondence, haven't we, over the years? And you've kind of been with us right from the beginning, haven't you?
Hello and welcome to another episode of The Wilderness of Creativity. Today I'm thrilled to have Lucy Bellingham joining us. Lucy is a dedicated teacher and freelance drama consultant with an impressive background that spans over 20 years in drama education. In 2021, she founded We Teach Drama, where she works alongside a team of freelance creatives to develop innovative resources and professional opportunities for drama teachers around the world. In this episode, we talk about the delicate balance between working and creating. We explore how important collaboration is when developing practical resources and CPD for teachers. We discuss the transformative power of play and creativity in the classroom and reflect on the lasting impact of drama education. If you feel like you're trying to recreate the wheel or you're on your own, especially if you're a one-person department, it's so hard.
Well, this is it. This is the reality for most of us, isn't it? It is one-person departments, and now even more non-specialist teaching across the country and across the world and all of that. So, yeah, I mean, it's really what can we do? How can we support? And that's always been the starting point. It's always been because I am the target market, I am the person who I'm creating the resources for. What would I find useful? What have I found useful? And, I don't need to put myself in anybody's shoes because I am that person. So,
And I think if you start from that place, it's the same with the podcast, if I'm completely honest. Like, I am the ideal listener.
Congratulations, by the way. It's absolutely amazing what you've been doing, and you've, so quickly. And I know how much work goes into setting something like this up. It doesn't happen instantaneously. So I'm sure so much work's been going on behind the scenes. So, keep going with it. It's brilliant. Keep plugging away, and there will be darker days, sorry to be rude, but like you say, but it is about just that reaching out. And I found that my one consistent person who I work with, who not a lot of people know about this, but it's actually one of my best friends from school. So you're just talking about the branding now. She does all my graphic design. We work very closely together every day. We went to school together. Paula, she's one of my best friends. So she runs Fat Design, and she was just coming out of maternity leave when I was setting up We Teach Drama. And I said, do you want to start to maybe do some design again? And she hadn't done any design for like 5 or 6 years. She had to reteach herself how to learn all the software because it had changed so much. But she's been absolutely amazing. So she's like my sounding board. And actually, my mum's quite involved in the company as well. She does all my accounts and everything. So I've got these two really close people who are my kind of consistents. And then I've got all my freelancers who I work with. But I need, you need a sounding board, and you need, because if you're working in isolation, it's really hard. And I did a lot of things in the first year or two that were, just sort of on a whim, where I would say, right, I'm doing this, and I didn't really think it through. And, but you have to kind of do those things, don't you? And you get approached, and I'm sure you will, as this evolves, you'll get approached by people. with all of these amazing offers and exciting things, because you're out there, and that's very exciting. And I find it really hard to say no. I'm getting better at saying no now. But I was like, yes, I'll do that. That sounds great. That sounds really exciting. It kept kind of taking me away from where I needed to go. So the first year to 18 months was very much like, oh no, I took myself away from that, and that hasn't really been very fruitful. I'm going to pull myself back and I'm going to focus on this. And I think now I'm a lot more kind of laser focused on, this is what I want to achieve this month. This is what I want to achieve in the next 6 months. And even if this person comes along with this amazing offer, is that going to detract too much? Can I squeeze it in, or is it going to detract, or is it going to feed into what I'm doing already? And I think it's that process of just sort of learning about how to respond to all these amazing things that are out there, amazing people, and it's finding those people. So you'll find your you'll find your tribe, to work with. And the people I've worked with over the last few years have been incredible. And some people I've continued to work with. Some of the designers who I originally met in the first few weeks of setting up the company, I still work with Josh Tomlin. I still work with Eva Collins Alonso, who does all our sound work. All of those designers. Only Sophie Donaldson, who's the costume designer, she's doing absolutely unbelievable things now. So she's kind of catapulted into like a different stratosphere. So, but all the others are just amazing, really, and they continue to work with us, and it's then building those relationships. Your audience will know them, and that's what's lovely about it developing, really.
And there's so much in there that you've just said about, being very clear about what you want to do, the importance of being able to say no. So, I think putting yourself out there and reaching out and making those connections when you're starting out is so important. I mean, obviously, as a freelance artist, before I went into teaching, I had to do that, and there'll be a lot of freelance artists probably listening to this episode as well about, how do we create those connections and that sense of community around us when we are maybe bitting and bobbing lots of different projects and managing that. And I think so having that, as you say, that laser focus, bringing it back to what is it that you want to achieve? What is your goal? I was wondering whether you could take me back to, why you decided to be a drama educator. What was it about being in the classroom and teaching drama that really inspired you to begin with?
Well, I did. So when I was a child, I did a lot of performing, and so my dad was a singer. We come from a very musical family. My mum used to take me to the theatre a lot. So we came, I grew up really around entertainment. And I was mostly a singer. I wasn't really, my acting was okay. But I did a lot of musicals and then trained in opera later as well. So it was about the singing, really. And I did a lot of classical singing. I went to an amazing all-girls school, which is where I mentioned Paula earlier. We met in that girls' school for performing arts just thrived, really. So, and I think as well, performing arts can only thrive in creativity, really, if in a safe environment. And I think absolutely that's what I had at school. I had this place where we could just be ourselves, we could express ourselves. And that for me meant it was good being away from boys, to be honest with you, during those teenage years. I then went to a mixed college when I was 16. But up until 16, it was just like this amazing, like kind of free environment where we just did loads of shows. Drama was a huge part of it, music, everything. And it was very academic as well. I mean, I was quite academic. I did, I was very, very good at maths at school, and I could have gone down that route. So it's quite a big decision, really, going to Manchester University to do drama. But I think I went to Manchester because I'd done Manchester Youth Theatre. So when I don't know people listening whether they would know about Manchester Youth Theatre, but it was like an offshoot of the National Youth Theatre at that time, which was in the 90s and before that as well. It was run by Jeff and Hazel Sykes, who are these two amazing sort of pioneering sort of youth theatre leaders. And if you have a look at the alumni for Manchester Youth Theatre, it was just incredible, the actors that came out of that, because basically you go to Manchester for a summer, like you auditioned, and then when I was 16, it was the year I got my GCSE results. I went up to Manchester for 4 weeks. The first week you'd be living in halls of residence which was a huge learning experience in itself, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
So we were living in Manchester University halls of residence, even though we were 16, for 4 weeks. The first week would be auditioning for like all the different shows. There were 4 shows that were in rep. And you would rehearse for two weeks, do a full, I'm talking every day, 9 till 6 rehearsals in like full acting, exercises, full on actor training, full on staging a show. And then you do perform it in one of the big theatres in Manchester for a week at the end of the run. And it was just absolutely, it was just unbelievable. And there were all young people there from all walks of life, really. And they made it, a certified effort to make sure it was diverse, it was inclusive. And they had really amazing partnerships with the local schools in Manchester as well. So I suppose, I know kind of diverting off a little bit, but Manchester Youth Theatre became a huge part of my youth, really. And I did that over several years. I then became an assistant director with Manchester Youth Theatre, which I did when I was at uni. So I went to Manchester because I knew Manchester as a city. I loved Manchester as a city. I loved Manchester music, 90s music, 80s music. So that was quite a big part of it. Yeah, so I went and then during my degree at Manchester, I was still continuing Manchester Youth Theatre. And started to explore film a little bit at university. But during my last year at Manchester, I just started volunteering at South Manchester High School, which was in Wythenshawe, which is kind of right in the middle of quite a big kind of council estate in Wythenshawe. And I just volunteered one day a week. And the drama teacher just taught in kind of porter cabins, really. I mean, they had absolutely nothing there, in terms of facilities, but the drama teacher was just absolutely amazing, And I did that for the whole of my 3rd year. And as the year went on, I thought, this is great. This and that's sort of in combination with the Manchester Youth Theatre experience. I thought this is really interesting. And also at Manchester, I don't know if it's still there, but when I was at Manchester Uni, there was a department called Theatre in Prisons and Probation. And there was a big prisons project they used to do with drama, where you went into prisons as well. And that was a huge draw for people going to Manchester Uni and doing the drama course. So I did that, and that was incredible. So just kind of had lots of amazing exposure to sort of applied drama in education. So I left and I did a PGCE in Birmingham. And that's, when I started to kind of really get a lot more into teaching. But then I was still performing, I still then moved down to London and, still carried on doing quite a lot of professional singing and training and alongside the teaching as well.
Is that where We Teach Drama comes from then, do you think? It's this, you understand the importance of that CPD and maintaining that fire.
I think for us, it's really about what is really useful, kind of what are the key, we've always been very, very keen on, what are the key takeaways with limited time, which we've got, how can we make it as high impact as possible? Listen, there are amazing companies out there, mostly theatre companies doing these incredible practical workshops like you're just talking about, which I did, which I'm sure you've done. And that is absolutely crucial, to be in the studio, to have that practical experience. I've got piles and piles of notebooks that I still possess that have got all my notebooks from all those practical workshops that I did from years ago and still do now. Told by an Idiot, DV8, all those companies, Complicity, you work with them and you've got all those scribbly notebooks. That's what it was. And I suppose for We Teach Drama, it's been about trying to harness that. Well, how can we, take those little nuggets, because we don't want to take away that practical exploration. It's so important for drama. And we are essentially an online company, even though we do some face-to-face work. But it's really about how can we take those little nuggets, how can we share them in an online space, and give teachers kind of a way in, I suppose. And then it's up to you to go away and do the reading and take part in more of a practical workshop or explore it with your students. But it's finding those little keys and those little sort of ways in, if you like, and those little nuggets, I suppose. And all the teachers who work with us, who do really great CPD with us, they're able to really kind of distill all of that information and to kind of make it accessible, because we want teachers to come to an hour webinar and go away and think, right, I'm going to go in, I'm going to implement that tomorrow. I'm going to try that. I'm going to start to work with my department tomorrow. I'm going to have a meeting and put that in place. We want it to be useful and immediate. And I suppose, but we don't want to, obviously the practical work is so important. We do understand the limitations of being an online drama company, but there is still a lot that we can do to support. So
I remember the CPD sessions that I've been to, particularly I'm thinking now the technical theatre, and the resources that you've provided then within the library I've taken away and I've used the next day. And the thing is as well is that I felt more confident. The students were getting a better experience as well, because I was feeling more confident. I had that knowledge and it was accessible for them.
That's brilliant to know. And actually, that's the main feedback that we've had about particularly the theatre design and technical theatre training, which really we're sort of known for now. I mean, we do a lot of other things, but really it's the thing that I always get people coming to me and saying, we've been recommended, that you're great for, when we do face-to-face conferences, I get lots of conversations around exactly what you said. You've given me confidence. I needed to build my own confidence on theatre design. I don't have a theatre design background. As I said before, I trained as an actor and a director and a youth leader. For me, when the specifications changed in 2016, I was head of department in East London, and I felt completely out at sea with the theatre design content. I had 15 people in my department and I was kind of managing PE and different things, but I had 2 drama teachers and they were kind of looking to me to go, right,
what do we do?
We need to start to teach theatre design now. And there were lots of books and I was kind of like, what do I do? I don't feel confident with this. I've been, a part of shows and I've done a little bit of stage management. But I thought, how do I teach? Because then it's not only a whole new area, it's whole new 4 areas. It's a completely different way to teach lighting, as it is to teach sound, to teach set and costumes, a little bit of overlap, etc. But it's a completely different way of teaching. And so it was really about, again, like I said before, finding those ways in. And I thought, this is how the company started essentially, was during lockdown, deepest, darkest lockdown in 2021. My baby was very young. She was at home. And, my brain sort of switched on because she started to sleep through the night eventually after about 14, 15 months.
Yeah.
And I suddenly thought, I really want to do something. And all the schools were starting to close. So I thought, what can I do? What did I really struggle with, as a teacher? And I really thought about that 2016. And I thought, what shall I do? So what I did was I just in my head, I got this think like a designer kind of tag in my head. That's what came first. And then I thought I want to just do a series of webinars. So I put an advert on Arts Jobs. I literally went, call out to theatre designers and technical theatre professionals. We want to create some resources for drama teachers. Didn't know what it was going to look like. This is the thing, is that similar to what you're doing here, you have an idea, don't you? You have to put it out there. And this has been this classic me, what I do is put it out there. Then you have to commit to it. Then I'd got 30, 40 designers emailing me going, oh, I want to do this. Oh, this sounds great. But then, Eva contacted me, Josh, all these people who we've now worked with for 3.5 years. And you're going, yes, these people can teach. They've got all of these ideas. They can really connect with teachers. So we then created these 4 webinars, and that's how it started, really. And by week 4, we had nearly 300 teachers on the 4th week. And, my partner is taking out, my baby Martha, out on a Saturday morning and in rain, whatever it is. I'm like, you've got to be out of the house. We've got 300 people on this webinar, it's sort of, because it just sort of snowballed. And the first one, which was Think Like a Sound Designer, that you may well have been on yourself, that was being reviewed by Drama and Theatre magazine. They got wind of it, and it was the very first webinar I'd ever done. And I didn't even really know how to operate Zoom and things. They were like, we're going to come along and review it. And I was like, okay, that's fine. I think And luckily, I mean, they've been so supportive over the years, magazine, and they were brilliant. And I think there was a little bit of a note about the fact that, the Zoom, I couldn't really operate the Zoom at the start of the webinar, but once Eva took over, it was fine. That was the only thing in the review that was negative. But it was just, let's just do it. Let's just get ourselves out there. Let's just learn as we go. I've got these amazing designers who really know their stuff. And by week 4, on social media, it was like, what are we going to do next week? This is finishing. And I thought, this isn't finishing. This is the start. This is the start of it now. And I then had a kind of clear idea about where we were going to go. So,
and all of that buzz, that creative buzz of bringing people together, of just putting yourself out there, of trusting yourself. I think as a creative, we do have a tendency to just go, right, I'm doing this. And then the momentum starts and you're like, okay. I think within that chaos of not really knowing, that's when the creative juices really start flowing. And you find your flow, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. It's invigorating. It's totally, you can either sink or swim, I think, in that scenario. I think you know it. But I think when you've been in front of 30 teenagers 6 times a day for like 20 years, then you sort of go, this is okay, I can do this.
Nothing phases you.
I mean, you kind of gives you that confidence. I think that's why drama, you see all these amazing drama teachers like yourself, Tracy Dorrington, Drama Matters, the Open Drama crew and all those guys. It's kind of fearlessness. It's like, we've got an idea, let's trust in the community, let's trust that this is going to go where we want it to. And I think, I'll hold my hands up and I'll say there are points when I've stopped listening and I have kind of, become a little bit insular, and and then I just get on a Zoom and I'm like, what do you think about to the teachers who work with us a lot, please tell me, is this a good idea? Should we I don't think it's the right time for that. Listen to what they're saying. Because when I have kind of just gone on this is what we're going to do next without actually, collaborating, that's when it can go a little bit awry. It's that constant, you want to get that constant feedback and that constant, because as you say, that's the reinvigoration, and it allows you to stay fresh, stay relevant, and stay useful, I suppose, in terms of what you're offering.
And I think for me, as an educator, my passion is ensuring that our children get these experiences as well, so they appreciate and can tap into their own creativity. They can listen to their own ideas. They can think for themselves. They know how to collaborate successfully.
Absolutely. I mean, it feels quite positive at the moment. I think it's been quite a nice summer in terms of, I've done a couple of conferences and spoken to people, and the sea change and the change of government, and the curriculum review looks very positive. And there's lots of key drama organisations involved. I'm in the DTEA, Drama and Theatre Education Alliance, or we are as an organisation, and they're very proactive with national drama in terms of making sure the case is heard. I had a meeting with Phil Cleese, who's an amazing academic and researcher, and he was previously a drama teacher. He works with Warwick University, and he has just an amazing kind of thesis, PhD thesis, on what A-level drama could look like without the focus on the written exam, and how it can still be rigorous and it can still be meaningful. And I had a Zoom with him and the other researcher he's been working with. So there's lots of really interesting things feeding into this curriculum review. I mean, we do, over the last few years, we've done loads of training on writing in drama. And I always there's always a caveat where at the start where I say, I'm not saying we want to write more in drama. I absolutely hate the fact that it's 70% written now, and the writing can be a valuable part of it, as we know. But I want there to be a sea change as well. We offer this training because we want to support drama teachers in what they've got to do. But, we also want, practical drama to be at the heart of, drama education experience. We don't want the focus just to be on writing theatre reviews, etc. And this writing in detail on these set texts, etc. It needs to be much more diverse. It needs to be, much more than that. But I think hopefully if we all feed in the same, in the right way, and give this feedback to the curriculum review, I think you're right. I think it could be a really positive couple of years where we start to see a shift again.
it's easier to quantify written work, isn't it? It's easier to kind of assess that.
Yeah, I think that's always been the challenge, hasn't it? I think that's what Phil, I think that's kind of what he's been looking at, really. Might be a really interesting person to have onto the podcast, actually. But yeah, I think that's always been the issue, hasn't it? How, and that's what school leaders are always quite afraid of. Well, what does it look like? How are we going to prove that progress? How are we going to, how are we going to report to Ofsted? Well, let's look at PE. Let's look at PE we're doing. How do they assess practical work? How does that work? So I think it's interesting. We can look to different countries as well. Australia have an amazing, rigorous, very, very rich and fruitful kind of drama education curriculum, and something that's been really embedded and really adopted by teachers over there. So we work a little bit with Australian teachers as well, US as well. Working with a US teacher at the moment, he's helping us with our technical theatre packs, actually, and how they kind of translate over there. And apart from the nuances of language, they again those US teachers are struggling in the same way we are in terms of how do we access resources, how do we teach it in a meaningful way, and it's the same conversations that everybody's having all over the world. So I think it's about the joined up thinking as well, and that's why the DTEA, I think, is a great organisation at pulling people together, making sure those conversations are being had, making sure that we're pulling in. I mean, our DTA meetings are fascinating because we pull in all different people. Cultural Learning Alliance came in the other week. Katie Mitchell popped in the other week. It's about pulling in as many people from the professional theatre world as possible to have those conversations. It's like we can't, as drama teachers, just be working in isolation. We've got to be completely connected to all those other industries and the people that we work with and that are relevant to the career paths the students are going to follow. So it's a really huge undertaking, and it'll be interesting. But I hope the government, listens to all of the different viewpoints, because there are differing viewpoints in the drama community, and it is still a little bit fractured. But all those opinions need to be listened to. They're all valid. They're all quite, some of them quite different approaches, but fundamentally, if you ask any drama teacher what they're trying to do, it's essentially what you said. You want your students to have that meaningful experience in real time, in practical drama, to learn all of those, have that amazing experience that we know that they can get.
Because it's the ripple effect as well, isn't it, Lucy? Because if they feel safe in that space to explore and listen to other people's ideas and stories and create characters and, have fun and experiment and all of those things, collaborate, problem solve, negotiate, compromise, all of those skills that we need. I think for me, I try and get as many organisations and companies and artists in, because I know they need to work, for one, but I also know the benefits. But you don't always get the support from the top.
Well, this is it. I mean, this is the key, isn't it? I've worked in so many schools over the years, and it really is that, and I think, I left a school last year, so I was only working part-time, but when you realise that there is a limit to how far you can go, I think I previously, when I was a younger teacher, I would have pushed and thought I can break through. But really, there's only, you will try and change, you can try and change their perspective. You can try and change if fundamentally they don't understand at that top level. I've realised that there's only so much you can push, unfortunately, and I don't mean to sound bleak, but in my experience, that's it. And I have been able to, you can do all the things, inviting them, etc. But, ultimately, we need those more creative people in those senior positions. The most progress that I made was in East London, because my deputy head, who ended up giving me the job and employed 2 drama teachers at the same time, Natasha Higdon, who also works with We Teach Drama. She was a drama teacher previously, Jenny Montgomery. She was absolutely amazing. She totally understood. She was very forensic about we want to do this and this. We want to reach this many children. She was all about impact, so she had this real sort of business mind, which was like, we've got to show the impact of the arts, in order to justify it to the governors, etc. So we need to get this many children. We need to work with, and it was amazing. And I see that at my daughter's school. She's only in year 1, but her school is a tiny little primary school, local primary school, only 1 form entry. But the head teacher and all of the teachers are absolutely committed to the arts. For a tiny primary school, they've got Arts Mark Platinum,
Wow, that's
which is
incredible.
incredible. They do so much work with community. It all feeds into the curriculum. And there is just this belief in the children, she kind of stands up and says, we want the children to be happy and explore the arts. And then the learning happens.
Yes.
And I just wanted
Yes.
to hug her. She stood up at the first parent, and I just wanted to say thank you.
That is what we need to hear.
And the SATs results are off the chart there.
Of course they are.
Of course they are. Yeah, absolutely. They know, they can see the children going happy. They want to go in. They have this amazing experience, and they learn, and they want to learn. And they're doing all the important stuff as well. But it's this this kind of really upfront, honesty around the arts and what they can do. And that then, is infectious for the parents. And it's this real belief, I think, this fundamental belief in what they can do. There's also, just quickly, there's just the amazing initiative, which I think has come through National Drama, which is all about getting creative people, whether they are professionals in theatre industry or artists, into board of governors,
Yes.
board of trustees within schools, which again is key, because if you've got board of governors and they don't have that, none of them have that background in the arts or that understanding, again, there's another hurdle to getting things, whereas if you've got at least one or two key people who have that background, who are part of the community, who are artists, who are, professionals, then that, I think it's a brilliant initiative by National Drama, that one.
I mean, I must be naive, but I always thought that the board of governors of any school would have to have a cross-section of people from, in society and business, so that there is that balance. I thought there would have been. How do you decompress, Lucy? Because you're very busy.
Oh, I am very busy. Yeah. So I was really, really quite seriously into yoga, pre Martha, pre baby. I haven't quite got back to where I was. I got to the point, and I travelled around Asia for quite, for a year or so on my own. I went and stayed at a yoga retreat in Bali for quite a long time, and got to the point where I was ready to do the teacher training. As my biggest regret is that when I got back from Bali, I didn't just do the month teacher training and do it, because it's going to take me years to get back to that point now, but it's fine. It's a journey. It's not about having a piece of paper. I understand that.
To actually be a yoga teacher.
Yeah. And I'm not saying I would have been but it was just almost, I just really would have loved to have done that intensive month, either in the UK or gone to India for a month just to do it, because I felt exactly in the right place. And that's always been the thing which has really helped me. And that's been, just getting on the mat and just going through my own sequence, my own time, your own rhythm. And it's a lot easier to do when you're on a deck overlooking the sea in Bali, and then you're lying in a hammock, etc. But it's even here, it's still, I can get my mat sits in the corner of my living room, and whenever I need to, I'll get it out and I'll just take that time, because it's that kind of journey inwards, really, that you just need to take time to reflect and that time to stop. I think that when you've been able to make that connection, and even though it was years ago when I went traveling, I've never lost that. I've never lost that ability to kind of bring it back to myself, bring to that moment of stillness, even with all the chaos, But yeah, it's definitely something I would like to continue. I am going back. My yoga teacher actually had a baby, and she's coming back this week, so I'm going to start going back to classes. But it's my own practice, which I kind of really enjoy, because you can then just pick it up. You can do 20 minutes. You can say, right, I'm going to do a little bit before I start work, or I'm going to take some time in my lunch break. And it's really, really important to take that time, because my life now is very much spent on a screen, because a lot of the work we do is on the computer and writing and developing things online. So it's just to get away from the screen as well. from that perspective. So we also have a lovely, I've moved out of London 2 years ago, so we're much more kind of in the countryside now. Well, countryside, I still live in a town, Leamington Spa, but we have like a lovely common, which is only like a 2-minute walk. So I just go on the common and go for a walk so I suppose those two things mostly.
Do you miss being in the classroom?
I do. There is I was in last year and I was teaching until July, really. I was still in a school a couple of days a week. So maybe ask me in a year when I because this is a bit of a transition in terms of I've been still partly teaching, partly running We Teach Drama for the last few years. But this term is just all We Teach Drama. And we're going to be doing some workshops for Stagecoach, which is really exciting.
I did see that, actually. Do you want to talk a little bit about how that came about?
Yeah, so it was kind of a combination of, I think we won the award with Music and Drama Education Awards last year, and I think they became aware of us through that. And then I had kind of a contact with somebody within Stagecoach, and they were just really interested because it's not anything that they offer. For Stagecoach, they do acting, singing and dancing, but it's about offering something else, an experience they wouldn't get, really. And there's lots of companies they work with who offer masterclasses and various things. But it was really about, well, how do we explore theatre design? So we just started trying out some of our resources and workshops, really. And it's worked really, really well. So we've now started to, book in workshops this year. So I still will be delivering and teaching, but more in that capacity. So, be building model boxes, working with, a professional designer will usually be with me and working with the students. So if they're, for example, like they do a lot of musicals and shows in Stagecoach, if they're working on a particular show, they'll create a model and a set design linked to the show. So we'll go in, and it's just quite nice because it's you just see a completely different side to the students. And Stagecoach is, they say it's creative courage for life. I mean, that's their tag, and it really is about, it's a lot of the franchises are very inclusive, and it's about, lots of different children go to Stagecoach every week. And within that, you then get children who will really thrive through design as well, who want to have that time. You just see a completely different side to the children when they do theatre design. And those children will shine through who maybe haven't shone through so much with the more sort of, acting and singing, etc. So it's just a lovely way in. But yeah, it's kind of a new thing for us, but we're really excited about it. So I'll be travelling. We made some little 1:50 scale theatres that we're using as well. So that's exciting. And it would basically be myself and other designers we've kind of enlisted, travelling around and all over the country. We're going up to Barnsley and Preston and off to Norfolk, and so
when you're having those sort of more contemplative moments and you look at what you have created, I mean, you must be so proud.
I mean, it's been brilliant. It's been absolutely brilliant. 3.5 years, I can't believe it's gone so quickly, and as I say, don't get me wrong, I've made loads of mistakes, but you kind of have to go, let's learn from them, let's move forward. And some of them when it's all public and you put things out there, it's and social media can be quite brutal, let's face it. So you have to be really resilient, and I've learned to take a step back from that, really. I mean, my main channel now, I mean, we do things on social media, but and I think the Facebook groups are brilliant for drama teachers. Yeah. But my main method of communicating now is really my newsletter, because I find that that's really about me talking directly to the people who want to hear and want the resources and want the help, and they can opt out whenever they want. And so that for me has become my main channel. It's something we've built up over the last few years, really, but it's incredibly important. We send out a newsletter once or twice a week. And it's that really important connection with our audience. And I think that we've kind of shifted really. I mean, we've come off Twitter completely. That was a big decision because I didn't feel comfortable with everything that happened over the summer. And I thought for a while I've been thinking about it. And don't get me wrong, we did loads on Twitter. It wasn't a difficult decision, to be honest, but we used to do loads on it. As you know, Twitter's massive, and I used to find loads of really useful resources on there from a lot of the teachers who were, particularly a lot of the sort of research-driven sort of practitioners, you know. But I thought I can't be on this platform anymore. That was just a decision that we took, and I haven't looked back really. So we've completely come off Twitter now. So we're just on Facebook and Instagram, and actually liking LinkedIn a lot more now because I feel like that's a really nice professional platform. It's kind of warmed up to LinkedIn quite a bit. I wasn't really sure at first. I thought it was just full of, corporate business people, but actually it's quite a nice space now. We'll see how long that lasts, but
I think that's part and parcel of it as well. Like you're saying with the newsletter, finding your audience and making those connections and I guess finding what works for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's, I used to sort of put things out, and I used to, particularly on social media, and then, people can be quite harsh. They can make comments, etc. They were, it's tough, but you just have to make sure that you maintain that integrity and everything you're putting out, and it's, it's fine, but it can be quite a wild west a little bit.
It's hard not to take things personally because, you do have integrity and the intention is to help.
I'm not a theatre company. I am a drama teacher, and that's brilliant. That's like, I know what people need, but I'm also, one of the drama teachers, if you like. So, but no, mostly the communities are really supportive. But yeah, you find your tribe, you find your place, and then find a safe place where you want to kind of grow and evolve, I suppose.
Are there more collaborations coming up that we can look forward to seeing and hearing about?
Yeah, well, we've always got lots of things, on the boil. So the Stagecoach thing is big. We've created these little scale model boxes. So we're going to be selling those, which will be really exciting. Teachers will be able to buy them flat packed and assemble them themselves to create theatre, to teach theatre design, which is kind of, again, a new venture because it's about selling kind of material resources rather than digital resources. So that's quite a big step. We're redoing our Think Like a Designer packs because they were released 2.5 years ago now. So in the next few weeks, we are relaunching those with some brand new posters because in 2.5 years, everything changes quite a lot, so we've got, some new sections of videos in there about, intelligent lights and looking at sustainable theatre now, which is really important. So all the things which are relevant now that weren't relevant 2 years ago. So we're updating the packs. We are, connecting with teachers in Australia and the US about, particularly through the packs as well. And, continuing. So we started something last year, which was an AI drama and theatre educators group, and that's been with Bindia Chauhan, who works at Dubai College, and she is brilliant with AI and she uses it a lot as a drama teacher. So that's something we are going to develop more. We did a free webinar last year, and it's really about how can you use AI to save time, create resources, use it as your little sounding board if you're in a one-person department. How can we harness the power of it really to support what we're doing? It's not going to replace us being amazing classroom practitioners or drama studio practitioners. It's about that support and kind of giving us a little. So we will do more training on that. Collaborations. I mean, there's something big in the pipeline that's been kind of, I've been talking to lots of people about over the last couple of years, but it's a bit hush hush at the moment. But in the next couple of months, it will come to fruition, and that's going to be lots of collaborations and masterminds across different topics.
So if you're listening, you want to keep an eye out on We Teach Drama. There's obviously something in the pipeline coming up. And I know we've talked about it before, but obviously a lot of the resources are for secondary. And I was wondering if you were going to sort of branch out into, primary as well, because I think there are a lot of primary. I mean, I'm in a very fortunate position because I'm a specialist in an independent school. Not all primary schools have specialist drama, dance, music teachers. So there's a lot of non-specialists teaching those subjects. Is there an opportunity maybe to, work with primary school teachers and non-specialists and kind of really embed, those really good practices, and the things that you're sharing already with the secondary school teachers in a primary setting? Because I think there's so much scope there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's always something we've wanted to do, and this big idea that I alluded to, there is part of that is going to be, branching out a little bit more to primary sector and also English teachers and how they're using drama as well. So definitely those opportunities. I think, it's kind of an area that I've always been really interested in. It's just finding those ways in. But I know there's a lot of resources that are needed. It's just how we do that, really, because I think the benefit of really primary training is a lot of being in the room as well, and I think there's only a certain amount you can do with resources. I think that those are great, but I think we probably need to develop something that's a little bit more, in person potentially, so watch this space.
Yeah, oh, thank you so much. Honestly, it's been so lovely talking to you. I feel like we've known each other for ages.
I know. Well, that's the bit, because it's amazing, because like yourself, I bump into people all the time and they'll go, I was at those first Think Like a Designer webinars with you for the last 3.5 years. And I hope that continues and people, stay with us, really, because, it's been amazing all the way through. It's just been nice having a chat today. And as I say, well done again, to get this up and running and how it all looks, and your reach of like different areas and industries, I think is really fascinating as well. And lots of crossover for creatives across different industries. So absolutely. And I think the timing's brilliant. And let's hope, as we said before, with the curriculum, it's a great time to be really looking at it. There's a lot of potential to change at the moment. So that's an optimistic note to end on, isn't it?
It is. I'll cut it right at that point.